Hi everybody, I am going to talk about social casework in social work practice. Social work practice aims at assisting individuals or groups or communities to enhance or restore their capacity for appropriate social functioning and creating a favorable environment to reach their goals. Social casework is concerned with enhancing an individual's capacity for appropriate adjustment to attain more satisfying human relationships. It is a primary method of social work that involves a process of one-to-one relationship that helps the individual in effecting better adjustment in his or her family and social milieu. As every person is unique, he or she develops a specific pattern of behavior in his or her socio-economic, cultural dimensions. Hence, the problems of one individual differ from those of another. Social casework is seen as a humanistic attempt to help persons who have difficulties in coping with the problems of daily living. At the end of my talk, you will be able to gain an understanding of the concept of social casework, to be familiar with the objectives of casework, grasp the finer aspects of casework, and to know the limitations of casework in India. A definition of social casework is not easily grasped until one has a picture of social work as a whole. The following definitions give an insight into the meaning of social casework practice. Social casework is not only a tool but also an area of work that consists of processes that help to develop personality of individuals through meaningful adjustment between themselves as well as their social environment. The main function of social casework is to enable an individual in solving a problem through self-efforts. The role of caseworker is to provide adequate support and guidance. Social casework is a process used by certain social welfare agencies to help individuals to cope more effectively with their problems in social functioning. This definition of Perlman refers to the essential elements of social casework: the person, the place, the problem, the professional worker, and the process. The nucleus of casework, therefore, consists of the person with a problem who goes to an agency or organization, which means a place, and the professional worker helps the person to solve the problem through a process. Now let us look at the person. The individual with whom the social worker focuses on is known as a client in the professional language of casework. The client is usually a person with a particular need or problem who is in need of help. The person may be a child, an adolescent, boy or a girl, a young man or a woman, an adult man or woman, or a senior man or woman, or a transgender, or anyone who is facing some difficulties which affect some aspects of his or her personal life and social life. The person who has a problem feels the need for appropriate help and support. Alternatively, other significant people in the life of the person, namely family members, colleagues, relatives, teachers, may feel that the person or the client needs appropriate help and support. The person is having his or her own uniqueness, values, likes and dislikes, strengths and limitations like any other human being. The individuality or unique personality of the person is an important factor in causing some emotional, relational, behavioral problems and so on. When the person is not able to make a decision between right and wrong, good and bad, he or she goes through great stress. Consequently, he or she is emotionally disturbed and his or her behavior becomes maladaptive. Hence, the person is in need of some help in making his or her decision and live in inner harmony, make the necessary adjustments with oneself and others, and function effectively in society. Now let us look at the problem. Problem arises from some specific need or an obstacle. It may be due to the accumulation of frustrations in inter, and social relationships. This, in turn, threatens the adequacy of the person to cope with a stressful situation or the effectiveness of the efforts to deal with it. The person may suffer from any of the following categories of problems: physiological, psychological, social relationship, and economic. Now let me tell something about the place. The place refers to social service agency, social welfare department, or any organization that is concerned with the well-being of individuals and families. The term social agencies refers to an agency, whether run by government or non-government organization, that is offering specialized services for persons with problems. Application is a procedure for a person to approach an agency for assistance. Continuing service. Agency continues its service till the person's problem is solved. End of the process. The process of casework ends when the person develops effectiveness in coping with his or her problem and resolves it. Therefore, he or she may not require the agency's assistance. Now, let us understand the process. The process of casework is a problem-solving process that employs orderly, systematic procedures which form the basis for any effective thinking and feeling towards action. Problem-solving process is characterized by three essential phases, namely study, assessment, and treatment or intervention. And these three are interlinked. The purpose of this process is to engage the person himself or herself in working on the problem that confront him or her. The process is designed in such a way that the person finds the inner as well as external resources to cope with and resolve the problem. The process is essentially marked by progressive transactions between the caseworker and the person who goes through the process. Now, let me say something about the professional social worker. A professional worker is the one who has acquired relevant knowledge and skills in the art of helping a person who is in need of help. He is known as a social caseworker and represents his profession and agency. As a professional person, he must have the required commitment to his profession. The caseworker, having built rapport with the individual, guides him through a process that is to enhance the physical, social, and psychological well-being of the individual and enable the individual to exercise his or her inner and social resources. The caseworker empowers, encourages, and handholds the individual and consequently the individual becomes free from his or her conflicts and move towards better and healthier life in family and society. The Merriam-Webster dictionary gives the meaning of social casework as social work involving direct consideration of the problems, needs, and adjustments of the individual case as a person or as a family. According to the Oxford Dictionary, casework is social work directly concerned with the individuals, especially that involving a study of a person's family history and personal circumstances. In this context, it is to be understood that family case study, the most important form of social casework, is an effort to protect and preserve the family as an institution. Some try to define casework in terms of some specific and ideal objective. Mary Richmond definition of casework is an example in this line of thinking as evident from these words. Social casework consists of those processes which develop personality through adjustment consciously effected individual by individual between man and his social environment. The ideal highlighted in this definition is specific and worthy. It implies two things. There is a need for the involvement of other professionals such as psychologists, teachers, parents, and so on in this process, besides the social worker, and an interdisciplinary approach. Development of personality need not be the purpose in itself, but an effective means to eliminate social maladjustment. Better family life, proper basic amenities, enhanced educational opportunities, improved healthcare facilities, protected economic conditions, and harmonious relations between religious and ethnic groups are essential factors that help the individual in his adjustment and development. Sometimes, due to certain factors, internal or external, he fails to avail existing facilities. In such situations, the social caseworker helps him. Let me now outline the conceptual understanding of social casework. Social casework is a method of providing services whereby a professional social worker assesses the needs of the person and his family in an appropriate manner and arranges, coordinates, monitors, evaluates, and advocates for a package of multiple services to meet the complex needs of the person. Casework is recognizable by its aim of social betterment and its method of individualized and differential treatment. It is concerned with the release of resources in the immediate environment and capacities in the individual, which may give him a fuller and more satisfying life that becomes socially beneficial. Casework has always been concerned with the family as a primary social unit within which concepts are formed, which in our culture have a profound bearing on social adjustment. The practice of casework is a humanistic attempt to help people who have difficulty in coping with the problems of daily living, enabling the person who has a problem to make meaningful adjustment is typical of casework. As one of the direct methods of social work, it uses the case-by-case approach for dealing with individuals or families as regards their problems of personal or social functioning. Casework aims at individualized services in the field of social work in order to help the person to become aware of his or her inner resources so that the person may be able to handle any difficult situation in his or her life and make the necessary adjustment with the environment. Now let me say something about the nature and the features of casework. Social casework has its own history, evolved from different institutions of civilization, religion, and culture. But it has developed a preferential leaning towards the principles of democracy, the fundamental rights, and human growth and development. Social casework stands on the basic belief that human beings are born with innate capacities, and these capacities need to be enhanced with new knowledge and skills and experiences gained through everyday life. Moreover, human beings need to learn to cope with the new challenges that result from the rapid changes in society. They need to acquire new competencies to achieve the milestones of growth and development. Social casework involves a process of social treatment. This implies that social treatment is a sum total of all activities and services directed towards helping the person with their problem. The focus is to relieve the immediate problem and, if possible, to modify any basic aspects of the person that have precipitated. Human beings take to different patterns of interaction with other human beings. These patterns may be classified as primary level, secondary level, and tertiary level. Let us see what primary level means. When a child is born, the basic institution of family is responsible for the child's initial interaction. The child develops certain skills required to interact with the society at large in an appropriate manner. The family prepares the child to face the challenges in human relationships. In this context, the caseworker has to assess the level of interaction within the family and ensure the quality of the foundational skills for healthy interaction with one another. Both the parents and the child come into the process of casework in order to improve the innate skills and build up new capacities for solving any immediate problem and meeting the future challenges in intra and interrelationships. Now let us look at the secondary level. Institutions such as schools, religious structures, and so on, which can make a great impact on the child's growth and development as human being, come under this level. These institutions aim at imparting knowledge and skills and assist in the mature growth of the person. At this stage, the person's problems may become more manifest. He or she may tend to develop behavioral and attitudinal problems as new dimensions of life unfold themselves at the physical, psychosocial, and faith levels. The caseworker has a significant role to play at this juncture in the life of a person as a child or a teenager or young adult. He or she needs to understand the complexity of the problem situation or the growth process and support the person, parents, and teachers in their efforts to enable the person to solve the problem as well as to proceed further in his or her life's journey through the dissemination of suitable knowledge and skills. Coming to the tertiary level, this level of human interaction begins in the community and develops in the society at a wider level. The person who obtained the skills at the primary and secondary levels demonstrates the learning in the society through his or her interactions. In this process, the individual may face conflict situations that may affect his or her well-being. Hence, the intervention of the caseworker assumes importance in helping the individual with problem-solving skills and suitable support so that the individual is able to understand the reality and increase his or her adaptive and adjustment capacity to solve the problem and enhance the quality of his or her life. The process of intervention in casework enables individuals to build up their innate and acquired capacities to find solutions to their problems and improve their level of functioning in the family and society to the optimal level. Thus, the existing gap between the issues and the potentialities of the individual is reduced or removed, and the quality of life of the individual increases through proper adjustment and adaptive mechanisms. The individual is now able to positively contribute to the welfare of the society in which he or she lives through appropriate human relationships that are reciprocal in nature. Now let me tell you the basic assumptions of social casework. Human persons are bio-psychosocial beings who continually interact with their environment. Every person has his unique nature and at the same time has characteristics similar to other persons. In a social environment, it is next to impossible to live absolutely independent of one another. However, total dependence on others is not healthy nor growth-oriented. Most of the problems in the realm of social functioning are psychosocial in nature and also interpersonal. A person can be understood and helped to live his or her life effectively provided he or she is aware of the human limitations and cooperate with one another in the social environment. Human beings can change to a certain extent if they learn to make use of their innate capacities and potentials to the optimum level. Now let us look at the objectives of social casework in general. To establish rapport with the person who needs guidance and support. To assess the problems that hinder the growth of the person and to enable the individual to resolve the immediate problem. To strengthen the individual's ego in terms of self-esteem, self-acceptance, and self-direction and build up his or her capacity. To eliminate maladaptive behavior and prevent family or social breakdown. Lastly, to develop the resources for self-enhancement and empowerment. Now we will go to the limitations of social casework in India. The methodology of social casework has been borrowed from the West. There is still need for developing new methodology that is relevant to Indian situation. There is lack of indigenous literature for social casework practice. The good practices, the innovative approaches, and the new insights into this practice need to be captured and documented. There is no proper appreciation for social casework practice. Moreover, some social work practitioners consider that the method of working with individual is less effective in the emerging socio-economic trends in the context of globalization. Social casework practice is more focused on urban settings than the rural areas. There are different intervention approaches in social casework practice, but there are very little evidences for the effectiveness of these approaches in achieving the desired change. This indicates the situation of insufficient scientific research on social casework practice. But in spite of these limitations, social casework, being focused on the biopsychosocial problems of individuals, has greater scope in the present society, which is going through the impact of globalization. The rapid changes in the local and global environment pose a challenge to social casework with reference to its relevant methodology. The casework practice must evolve with the time and context. Social casework practitioner, therefore, should be not only updated in his or her knowledge of the rapid changes, but also able to plan the intervention that is suitable to the changing environment. Let me now sum up the entire concept, the nature and the features of social casework practice in India. The core of social casework practice is based upon the value of human dignity, the uniqueness of each person, the potential for growth and development, well-being of not only the individuals but also the members of the mainstream society, the right to self-determination of every individual. Social workers identify the tendencies within the individual as well as the forces existing in the social environment which are the contributing factors for human problems. They evolve a process through a purposeful relationship with the person, mostly a one-to-one relationship, and render professional help for problem solving and better social adjustment. Social casework dealing with individuals and families paves the way for better social adjustment and development. This process of casework provides an enabling environment that helps the person to become emotionally free and bring out the latent and unknown potentials within him or her. Eventually, the individual who is guided and supported by the caseworker could emerge as a self-sufficient, self-confident and independent person. The new research studies on human behavior, rapid changes in family system and in social dynamics make it imperative that social casework practice should develop multidisciplinary approach towards problem solving and enhancing of human potentials for better social environment and effective functioning. There is a great need to develop indigenous literature on the good practices in social casework in India. Let me sign off now and hope to meet you in another session. Thank you.